STEM prototype at Beacon.
Beacon. I just hope I can get there before he does.
Welcome back to The Evil Within. This is the final part of Chapter 3 of The Consequence. You can see by how dark it is, and the only thing you can see in the distance is Beacon Hospital, that we are playing on Kurayami mode. The goal here is to get the None More Dark achievement by finishing The Consequence on that difficulty setting. This is going to be a great episode. There's some really great action towards the end of it. Essentially 3 major, almost boss-type fights. One's a horde of zombies, one's Shade, and one's the Administrator. So, before we get to that, I want to, while the action's a little bit lower, I want to try to talk about a couple of key elements that I want to talk about in the philosophy. We've talked about the 90-10% rule of life, that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. That your reactions can basically take 3 forms. You can have no hope, which leads to suicide in the case of Cedar Hill Villagers or the Haunted inside STEM. You can have you can place your hope in external forces, the way Leslie has in looking for Sebastian and Kidman to be his savior, or as the way the Cedar Hill village looked to the church to become their salvation after the plague.
Well,
you can have self-reliance. Take individual responsibility for your actions, individual responsibility for your 90%. That leads to freedom, and that leads to a stronger, more useful life, both inside STEM and outside STEM.
Rubin's experimentation has demanded more and more subjects, and sad to say, they're suffering as much as, if not more than, his previous patients. Fortunately, Beacon and the city offer no shortage of expendable subjects. I should feel guiltier than I do, but my Hippocratic oath was abandoned long ago. The scientific and medical potential of the work is too great to be denied. Mobius has also offered me a respectable amount of compensation. Promoting me to director at Beacon is not something to be taken lightly. First, however, they want me to have a reputation, publishing studies in various journals. Repurposing some of Rubin's research towards patient evaluation seems viable. I doubt he will even notice.
There's a lot in that note from Dr. Jimenez there. A couple of the kind of brief things that we can just kind of mention. Obviously, he was wrong about how Rubin wouldn't notice and how Rubin wouldn't even care. Rubin very much did care that his research was being repurposed and put in his name. We saw that in the main game in a conversation between Jimenez and Rubin that Sebastian saw as a ghostly materialization of a memory. The other thing is, there's kind of been, we've talked often about the early parts of Rubin's experimentation being on the Elk River villagers that burned the barn. And here we see that, we saw in chapter 9 of the main game, we saw a note from Rubin saying, Jimenez can finally be useful. I need a lot more people to build this concept that I've come across. And the concept, of course, is the early prototypes of STEM. That note there confirms that early research, it wasn't that we went from torturing Elk River villagers that maybe had some culpability for having burned the Victoriano children inside their barn, but even worse happening to the patients of Beacon Mental Hospital, as well as a larger than just mental patients. It was outside Crimson City was providing some of that as well. That you see in all the notes of Sebastian saying that, if we're not careful, then there ain't going to be anybody to investigate missing persons because we're all going to be missing, right? So that shows you how big of a thing this was, and this is all before even the first prototypes. That was record number 133, so that's pretty early on. Before Jimenez was even fully in a position to give up all the patients in Beacon, because he was just then being made the director. Okay, but now from a that's kind of game lore, kind of game not mechanics, but the actual storyline there. But let's talk about what that means in our philosophy that we've been talking about, the 90-10% rule of life, right? There's a couple of things that we didn't really touch upon in the main game.
Beacon is close. Can't stop now.
The reason we didn't touch on them in the main game is because the main game is very visceral, very upfront, and direct. And meaning that the 10% is fear. It's clearly, and it's almost all it is fear, right? It's Ruvik trying to make people afraid so that he can take over their minds.
Well, here's where you'll be living. The view's pretty spectacular, huh?
Holy shit. This is different than I'm used to. If you saw where I grew up.
The past is over. You're with us now. Here are the keys. It's yours. You'll have to take care of your own food, clothing, and incidentals. But your bank account has more than enough to take care of that.
So, that's it? What am I supposed to do?
Whatever you desire. But your assignment at the Crimson City Police Department is precedent to everything. You are a police officer, and you must live as such, and act as such.
I don't normally say this, but thank you.
You shouldn't be thanking us. These aren't gifts we provide. You have a very specific assignment at KCPD, and all of this is in exchange for that.
Okay, you're right. Sorry.
Don't apologize. Just show us you can do your job.
Now that note from Kidman, that ties in that personnel record file where she's talking about, and she first receives her first kind of compensation, if you will. Remember, Dr. Jimenez mentioned compensation, becoming a director at Beacon, and now here she's being compensated with an apartment, a life, a whole new start to life. That ties into what I was about to say. In the main game, things were much more upfront, in your face. The 10% that was being applied to you was fear, and your response was hope. And that was leading to where you placed your consent. If you placed your hope externally, you placed your consent externally to someone else. That all happens pretty instantly in the case of the fight or flight responses to the types of 10% that were being applied to Sebastian, for instance, in the main game. But here we're seeing the longer play, the longer game of an entity like Mobius. Yes, fear is a big part of it. Fear that you're too weak, fear that you can't control things yourself, fear that your life is failing. But that response isn't a fight or flight. That's just a slow, gradual, long game by Mobius. And I'll take a break because it's going to be hard to talk over this. If you weren't noticing what I did is I hit the soda fountain machine back there. I hit it 15 times. That unlocks this Easter egg where the picture will fall down. You can look through the key window and you can watch Shay dance.
You've got to be kidding me.
I had kind of the same response Kidman did. You've got to be kidding me. Okay. But that slow game is a much deeper. It's sort of like when you water your grass. If you water it for 10 minutes every single day, the roots never get very deep because the water never gets very deep. If you water it once a week deeply, then the roots go deeper because the water's deeper. The water's held farther down. The same thing happens in a slow, long game by Mobius here. They're not asking for your consent on day one. They're offering you something in exchange. And those early exchanges, Jimenez thought he was getting the better end of the deal, right? He's getting promotions. He's getting to get more and more power through Mobius. He's getting a directorship at Beacon. Kidman's getting a whole new life. She's getting this apartment, an expense account. She's got a whole new job. She's somebody now, something to be reckoned with instead of the youth that was lost and about to be abandoned in the jail system of Crimson City. That slow burn, anytime you're getting something, and you notice what both the responses, they're getting something more than they necessarily feel that they're. Well, Jimenez has so much ego, he thinks he provides so much just automatically. But certainly Kidman is thinking, I'm getting an awful lot in return for something very, very little. That compromise to spy on colleagues at Crimson City Police Department seems petty compared to the change that's been made available to her in her life by giving consent to Mobius. But that consent she doesn't give her whole life immediately. She's still thinking on her own. But that slow build, that slow game of where just more and more of yourself is given, where now she's in STEM and they're not asking her to spy on her friends. They're asking her to kill them. But you see right there, that was that soliloquy that she just had.
Looks like
She's saying, I don't know what would have happened in my life if you hadn't brought me in. That was the fear of self-doubt that was leading her to look externally for somebody to save her. Mobius fills the void, but she didn't give everything immediately. It's still this kind of long burn. She gets an apartment, she gets a new life, she gets training, she gets everything given to her. And it's not until after she's built up this kind of debt structure that all of a sudden now they're asking her for the real hook. We want you to kill your friends. That's not what she signed up for. But she's so far invested in it that it took her a long time to start really questioning what Mobius was and what they were asking her to do. That brings me to my second philosophical point that I really want to make through these DLCs, is that you cannot give your consent away. I know we've been saying it for 24 episodes of Akumu, and now we're on the 9th episode of Kurayami, and you're saying, but Brian, you've been saying Leslie's giving his consent. Everybody's giving their consent away. They're giving it to an external force. Okay. And that is all true. I'm not reneging on any of that. What I'm saying is that you cannot give it away. You can give it, but it's still yours. No matter what, no matter how deep into anything you ever get, you are still your own person. You can still take your 90% back at any moment. This story, this DLC, is about Kidman taking her 90% back. She didn't realize it. For a long time, she was very happy with the consent that she'd given. She was getting a good deal in exchange. She felt she was getting a new life. The ethical compromise of spying on people at KCPD didn't seem that big of a draw to her. I mean, really, if you're believing in the person that's there to save you, you're believing that they're acting in your best interest. That if they're thinking that there's something wrong with inside KCPD, or fine, I'll spy on them for you. What is it? It's just information. But no, we find out that it's not just information. They want her to kill them. And that's a step too far for her. That's what broke her consent. And you saw it. You'll see it through this episode very clearly, that she is no longer. I mean, we said it at the end of the assignment. So 3 episodes ago, at the end of chapter 2, and when the assignment DLC ended, we said that was the end of the assignment, and now we're starting the consequence, and we are. It's not an instant thing. Even at the beginning of this, she was still looking for Leslie. At the beginning of the consequence, she's still looking for Leslie, still trying to figure it out if there's a way to get Leslie out. But she's in the midst of taking all the steps she needs to take her 90% back. And it'll be very clear here by the end of this episode. All right. So now we're just about to the part of the episode where things are going to get kind of... the action's going to get higher. I mean, so far we've only had to run from this one haunted. It worked out really well to just run back there. She takes me all the way back and gives me a long straight. I could walk up right behind her and kill her with the axe. Really, if you do that stealth better, you can do that without ever getting into a conflict with that haunted, and get out of there with the puzzle piece that you're now going to put in here to solve the puzzle. It's odd how with a gamepad controller, I don't know if it's better with a keyboard and mouse or not, but I had a hard time getting her to. She needs to step right between there and shine the light there. It's odd how hard that seems. I hate puzzles like this where it's like, you know the answer, it's clear what the answer is. It's just a mechanical, can I get the flashlight in the exact right angle? Most of this game is so well done. It's the thought that went into it is just top notch. But these shadow puzzles, they bugged me because of this very thing. You know what you're doing. You just need to put it there. I don't mind a little physical hand-eye coordination thing to puzzles, but that where it's a game mechanic, I can't get her to step between the two spots that she's in.
This is your last chance to prove yourself to us, kid. Don't let us down. Bring the boy to us.
Now listen to the echoing.
Get out of my head!
The echoing of what the administrator said to Kidman just then versus what he said to Ruben just before Ruben became Ruvik. This is your last chance. So Kidman knows what this is your last chance means with Mobius. But notice how defiant she was here. She didn't try to say, but I can't. I'm not making an excuse. I have to do what's right. You don't understand. She didn't make any of that. She said, no, stop, get out of my head. That's already a big change in tone. A huge change in tone, right? Now, the sequences coming up here, there are two sequences that I think are the hardest parts of the DLC. Period. Just, they're the hardest parts of the DLC. The first one is this kind of construction site. It's the same thing that Sebastian hits in chapter 11. In fact, so we know we're running concurrently with chapter 11. We talked about at the beginning of the consequence that the assignment ended at chapter 7 of the main game, that we went through 8, 9, and 10 immediately while Kidman was still in the sanctuary hospital, getting caught up. Now we're in chapter 11. You're about to see that she's about to see Sebastian.
Sebastian. And Joseph, too.
Those little flashes down there. She doesn't actually see Joseph. In Kurayami, you don't see anything but those little flashes way off in the screen. But if it wasn't Kurayami mode, she saw Sebastian as he was entering the large construction site before that garage door that opens with the waves that keep coming out of it. It's one of the most challenging parts of the game for Sebastian. Well, this is one of the most challenging parts for Kidman as well. Now she's going to face a haunted on a gondola. You need to get up here to this yellow barrel and get dug down behind it. Don't go around it until that shooting is coming. Wait until the second round of shooting stops and the gondola is directly behind you. When it stops, make a run for it. Run back there. The blue light's nice because it helps you know where to run to. That's the gun. So now she finally has a gun. And this works the same in Kurayami as it does in all the other things, in all the other difficulties. But you'll see as soon as she kills this guy with his barrel. Okay, so he's dead with one shot. But now this black screen is so disorienting. That's a cutscene showing the zombies coming out of the room at the far end of this. Your goal is to stop them here. Just as they get past that, they need to all get at least one step past that barricade to be near that red barrel. You need that barrel to burn all three of them. It doesn't burn all three of them. You're going to go through a lot of ammunition trying to kill them because they're going to take 3 to 5 shots, maybe even 6 shots to get each one down. Shoot the first guy in the leg like you saw there, wound up shooting 2 of them in the legs, dropping them, and then when the third guy got up there, light the barrel on fire. It's simple. It's hard to do. I'm telling you, it's hard to do. It turned out to be easier in Kurayami for me, only in the sense that I can't see anything, so you just shine your light and you don't feel like you're staying out in the open because it's so dark around you. In the real game, standing out there felt like you were exposed and that they were going to charge at you. You don't want them running because if they're running, they may fall too far or they may cover the ground too quickly. Same thing here. There's going to be 3 of them coming next to that red barrel. You want to be able to see the red barrel, and you want to be shooting down towards their legs. The goal is to block the first guy up, and see, he got there faster than I was expecting. He just suddenly appeared. He was like 3 or 4 steps in front of the barrel. So I kind of got lucky there. Now there's going to be 3 more coming. I think it's 3. There's going to be 1 coming from the right across the way up there. He's going to come by this barrel. When you see him in your flashlight, you want to shoot so that he'll burn by the barrel. Then you want to get around this barricade and be here. The other one came across the gondola, and 1 guy came straight from the back where you had been. You want to shoot at their legs is the quickest way to slow them down. Shooting them in the chest doesn't slow them down as quickly. And you can see that went, I mean, that's the smoothest I've ever done it. And it was on Kurayami mode. I was very pleased with myself. I don't know if it's because of the darkness that it makes you focus your attention exactly where your light is, but I knew what my goal was, and having the light focused there just made it, I don't know, made it easier. I don't know how to explain it, but that went much smoother. If you watch our Kidman survival series, you'll see that it didn't go that smoothly for me the first time. It went not too bad, but that was very smooth. And it wasn't even a whole lot of multiple tries. I think maybe I had one or 2 tries at it, but it went very smoothly. This next section, you're going to come down here, and there's going to be a long kind of catwalk. You can see that light that looks like the end of a tunnel way down there. She's going to step out, and it's going to be complete blackness around her, and she's on this catwalk. It's interesting because you'll see a stoplight, and you'll see some road signs hanging over this. In Kurayami, you can't really read them, but see, there's a stoplight, and then a few paces, and kind of up right above the thing, there's and maybe I should have shined the light up there. I'm not sure if I could have, but that road sign says paranoia. It's kind of a trivia thing. But as soon as that light happens, you're face to face with Shade across this room. There are poles and cabinets around these poles that you can duck behind and get behind. Just like always, as soon as her light shines, you can't avoid the light at the beginning. Now, I could have done a better job to get further away from her at the beginning.
This time.
But see, Kidman's already, see how much she's taking charge. She's not running. She says, I'm not running this time. Okay. Now this is a mistake. I did not mean to do this, but it works out so well that maybe it's what you really want to do. I called to Shade. I can't believe that I called to Shade. I mean, that is insane. I was thinking if I pressed X, I would change to glow sticks, and I could throw some glow sticks around. Maybe I'd be able to see her moving in the dark. But by pressing X when you're in, you no longer have the glow sticks. That mechanism that we used the last time we encountered Shade isn't going to work here because you no longer have the glow sticks. But now look how Kurayami works. It's so interesting that it's actually easier to see her and see her light. I've killed her before without actually shooting the light, but having called her over there, she's at an angle to us, so the light's never shining directly at us. If that light shines directly at you, you cannot aim through that. But as long as she's walking, and because it's so dark, her light is so bright that it's easy to see, and the third time you hit it, she's done. That was one try. That was not multiple tries. That was one try. We went through the construction zone, and then that all in one try.
Well, I hope he gets the message.
See how defiant she is now? Did Ruvik send you? I hope he gets the message. You know, she's taking back her 90%. It's so obvious that she's taking it back now. There's still a couple of important sequences in the series. In the end of this episode, the end of the chapter 3 of The Consequence. Chapter 3 is when Kidman takes her control back. Now, you're going to see a cutscene with Sebastian.
Are you in there?
You can hear him calling out to her.
Sebastian?
This is the part of chapter 11 in the main game where Sebastian sees Kidman on a scaffolding balcony outside of a building, and she's holding a door closed with a horde of zombies pushing on that door. and he has to swim by that fish thing that would eat him.
If you hadn't come along.
Save it for later. There are probably more of them around.
And then he kills the horde. She comes out of the door. That's the exact same two things they said to each other in the main game. This is happening a little out of sequence here. You see him start to turn immediately. This was after they had walked quite a ways in chapter 11.
Sebastian? What is...
Stay back. She's my responsibility.
Now notice how that changed from her perspective. A, the timing was a little bit different, but B, all the words leading up to it were exactly the same. But she hears, if you remember in the last episode when she was going through the time lapse of Sebastian's offices inside KCPD, she heard the echo of what Sebastian said to Joseph there, that she's my responsibility. And that was Sebastian. She heard Sebastian's care in that. That convinced her not to shoot him directly. She looks over his shoulder and she sees Ruvik there. And if you notice where she aimed her gun, she aimed over his shoulder, and she shot Ruvik. By shooting Ruvik
with that gun, kid.
She did the same thing for Sebastian that she did for Joseph. Remember we talked about in chapter 2 of the assignment at the end of, almost at the end of chapter 2.
You will come back with that boy, or you will disappear.
Kidman and Joseph had a fight, and we phrased that as two fights. It was internal fight between Joseph and Ruvik, and an external fight between Joseph and Kidman. And Kidman won both fights because when she hit him with the axe for the third time, that broke the tether that Ruvik was using to try to overcome Joseph. Well, the same thing happened here. There was an internal struggle between Ruvik and Sebastian. She chose this time. She saw Ruvik, so she had a chance to do it. She didn't have the same chance with Joseph, but she shot Ruvik, and that broke the tether that Ruvik was using to overcome Sebastian. So she saved Sebastian there again. Now, you saw when she came out of that, you couldn't see in the blackness, but what she saw was Leslie walking. And she went after Leslie and she pulled out her gun, and the administrator has stepped in to stop that. And so we had another chase scene with the administrator. Everything there is just like it was at the end of chapter 2, where he's saying, you will do this, you will obey. You don't have to trust us, you just have to obey us. That's the consequence of that long game that had built up. And Kidman saying this.
Fuck this place.
I won't say it on mic, I might get in trouble. But apparently YouTube won't flag it if the game says it. So that's her taking back her responsibility. She's now full owner of her 90%. I hope you enjoyed chapter 3. Chapter 4 comes next week. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.